Welcome to Point Blank here at KTN News. The legendary Maya Angelou said, people can forget what you said, people can forget what you did, but people will never forget how you feel. I'm here with attorney at law and lawmaker Jennifer Shamala. And I just want to get right to it. This country is now at the center of the discussion of the BBI. Is it good? Is it bad for Kenya? The proposals within the BBI discussion have ranged in breadth and width and depth. And among them is whether or not it would be a good idea to expand the executive. For example, with the Prime Minister, etc. Does Shamala, Jennifer, have a view?
I think when you say expand the executive, I think what we're now going to discuss about is systems and forms of government. My issue on that particular issue is to ask ourselves, have we decided we're tired with the presidential type of system where the winner takes it all? Do we want a Swiss type of system where at every single issue you go to a referendum and there's a cost aspect to it? Do we want a presidential prime minister type of system like they have in France? And this time, because the fact is that when we did go to vote for the Constitution of 2010, there were those who said they voted no because they wanted that 20% fixed. So that will be ultimately an issue that if, say, for example, 100 MPs have 100 meetings, those are 10,000 meetings, they will go around and ultimately still listen to the people of Kenya. What are your views? The BBI is a report.
Also, that's important. The report should be properly discussed.
I think the problem with Kenya, in as much as we have a lot of talk shows and a lot of commentary, it's not enough commentary. It's not the commentary that involves the people of this country. And I mean genuine commentary, not one where you go discourse. Let's call it a discourse. Not one where you stand as the leader and you tell them, I think this is the way we should go. But also leaders do follow the mood of their people. So there's a fine balance.
So actually these proposals of the BBI have a chance if they go to the grassroots.
Yes, it's to discuss these proposals. And when I say, does it have, I don't know what chance or not chance is. What is it? What is the sentiment of the people of this country? If we remember.
Let me ask you, for example.
Yes.
We used to have MPs,
yes,
ministers who are members of parliament.
Yes.
So the cabinet ministers could be grilled in parliament.
Yeah, exactly.
So if, for example, you have a parliamentary system, the parliamentary system would require the prime minister to answer questions.
Exactly. And I think that you've heard sentiments like that being viewed, being aired, sorry, not viewed, but being aired, that the cabinet secretaries are technocrats and only technocrats and are not in touch with what the people want. And it's the members of parliament who were elected that are really in touch with what the people want and understand the issues on the ground. So this is the sort of debate. I don't want to preempt any debate I think that we have to have a proper discourse, really a proper discourse, because let us never forget that the 2010 Constitution was written in blood.
And I want to enter into something sensitive.
Yes.
And for example, the woman leader.
Yes.
What you call the woman rep. I actually would like to know what a woman rep does. Because, you see, we created seats. For example, if you were to help gender, would like to see a situation where a governor had a deputy who was the other gender.
Yes.
I think that would help either gender.
Yes.
But the idea of just having a woman rep who has no executive work at the county and sits in Nairobi, for example.
No, they don't. They have a lot of work. First of all, a woman rep is the woman representative of the entire county. So whereas members of parliament are contained to one specific constituency, the woman rep understands the issues of the entire country. It's actually a very big docket, and it's actually one of heavy responsibilities. But don't also forget, it's an affirmative action position. And affirmative actions are put into place to remedy past grievances. Affirmative action is never forever. You're given a certain number of years to remedy this. It is hoped, and you have seen, within the last 10 years, we've made incredible strides. We've made strides whereby you have women who have now been elected in the constituencies, like Alice Wahome coming to mind, you know? So that's what affirmative action does. And I would always promote that we must have an equality between men and women when it comes to representation.
NAC party leader, Honorable Mother KARUA, raised a storm the other day when she said that there were groups of women, Inua Mama and Embrace, Team Embrace, that women were being used by men to go out there and shout in their praise. In terms of these groupings that are in your party, Jubilee, soon to be on one side, Team Embrace, Inua Mama on the other. Being a female leader and you know, being a member of Jubilee, do you feel that there is a misuse of women? Do you feel that these two teams or whatever, do you agree with the sentiments of Mother KARUA?
No, I don't. I think they were unfortunate. I think it's extremely sad that when men do something, nobody raises an issue. We have always had male politicians who are seen to be on one side. They used the phrase choir masters, etc., etc. It was a male-dominated area where the influencers or the people who spoke on behalf of the leaders were men. All that's simply happening now is you have women out there, but in the usual connotations of relegating women to sexuality or etc., we have said that they are choir girls. You know, we don't call men choir masters, we call them point men of this particular leader. So they have a right to choose whichever side they want to be on. Both sides have been doing development work, you know, going around, reaching the people. So I think it's unfortunate that women should have been categorized as being choir girls. It's not acceptable.
And therefore, as we look at this 20%,
yes,
I was coming to the second point.
Yes.
Now we've dispensed whether or not the executive should be expanded. Should it be expanded, say, for example, to include more positions, like a prime minister, a deputy, etc.? Where are women in this architecture? And is there a need? You are talking about affirmative action, clearly has been done at the county with a woman rep, etc. Of course, Parliament hasn't done the 1/3 rule. But is there a need, as these discussions of BBI gather steam, is there a big call that women must be included at the top, at the helm of leadership?
Oh, I think definitely, absolutely. They represent 50% of the population of this country. They must be represented at the top and at all levels of government.
I'm saying that because one of the groups, Team Embrace, when they were giving their views to the BBI committee, was saying that there must be, in this expanded executive, place for women. If not 50-50, at least
yes.
or something.
At least a significant
yes.
percentage.
Now, sitting in Parliament,
yes, have
you felt that women being there adds value to the August House? Have you felt that, you know, I know you before Parliament.
Yes.
So I'm just wondering, when you're in this mix
yes,
and in that environment,
yes,
is there a stronger voice for women in the August House? In general, what we don't see in the media, in the caucuses?
I think that this is my first term in Parliament. I haven't been in Parliament
I'm really
before.
happy to have you.
Thank you so much, Tony. And from what I hear, it's definitely, it is a sense of, you know, there's more, you know, because there are more women, things have changed. From what I heard from previous parliaments, it's definitely not as chauvinistic as it may have been. And even on committees, you have a balance of men and women. So I have never felt that we've been slighted in any way because we're women. And I think really we must give all thanks and gratitude to the women who went before us and opened, the Beth Mugas of the world, the Cecilys, the Naomi Shabans of the world, who really opened, you know, these, the Phoebe Asios, the Judy Gashuk, Dr. Julia Ojambo, Gashukia, who opened this space. We really must honor them as women.
So is there a girls' club in Parliament? Or
yeah, yes, there definitely is a girls' club, you know, and sometimes we gang up against the guys, but it's very, I have never, you know, sometimes I'll be sitting and we're just with the male MPs and it's just, very different from what I'd been to Parliament before for lunch,
Yeah.
etc. It's a very different environment
Now,
today.
the other propositions that,
Yes.
which are being discussed within the constitutional, I think, arrangement have got to do with the size or the numbers of various institutions, the size of Parliament, the size of the Senate, the size of the counties,
Yes.
the size of MCAs. And you know, the other day there was this initiative, Punguza Mzigo, which was actually defeated. But at its core was a question of burden to the Kenyan people. Looking from inward outward, do you have a view on the size of these institutions at the national, at the county level?
I think, yes, I wish I'd come with the statistics on that. But the biggest spender is not the judiciary or Parliament. It is actually the executive, all right? And the amounts allocated or appropriated to the judiciary or to Parliament are not that big as one would want to have us believe. But yes, I think it's important. So I don't think the issues are the sizes. The issue is the delivery. If we're talking about when it comes to devolved governments, have they succeeded? Have the aspirations of the people been met? Have they been able to deliver? I think that would be a great discussion to have for another day when I have all the numbers.
But Jennifer, why then is it the media or is it the public? And I am asking you point blank. Why is this impression that MPs are raiding and looting and paying themselves and rewarding themselves against the public interest?
And it's so absolutely amazing, isn't it? Because the minute a new group of people, I think only 20% or 30% of MPs make it back to Parliament, and the tag never changes, all right? Because somebody coined it very effectively and coined the phrase MPigs, a person who himself tried to run and join that august house, all right? But what I also think is it's a constant campaign tool. So the loser is in a constant campaign tool because campaigns start the minute you win that election and you go into Parliament.
Are you saying it's unjustified?
It's totally, absolutely unjustified. But most importantly, and please invite me back again so I can come with all the numbers.
I will do so. Yeah.
Most importantly, so the MPigs want this, the MPigs did this, the MPigs did that. Give us the data. Do you have any data that you can throw back at me and say that they said this is how much was spent? Do they have the data on how much it costs, for example, for a judiciary official to travel, to go for a conference somewhere? All these things, where is that data? And then we can have that debate, because I like having a debate when I'm armed with the facts and the numbers.
And then, if for you the numbers are not an issue at the national level, let's go to the county, because many of the counties have been more chaotic than actually Parliament here, because there's a rebellion between MCAs in almost half the county. Governors rarely actually get to work. Go to, I don't know, pick any county and you will find some kind of rebellion or blackmail or intolerance. Least of all Nairobi or Saboja in Taita. I mean, is there the MCA structure itself?
I think actually yesterday we were moving amendments on the Public Finance Management Act in the strengthening of the governance structures and how they deal with their finances. I think one thing that Kenyans are absolutely categorical about, united about, is that they do want these devolved units. They work for them. They have worked at some levels. They have been a total disaster at other levels, yes? I believe personally that there are certain issues that need to be managed by the national government. And leave some issues because they're cross-cutting. They cut across counties, etc. So it is it's something we still have to think through. It's something we still have to ensure as legislators that they have the legal framework within which to ensure that you don't have loopholes for corruption, you don't have loopholes for theft of monies, and you have a better system running.
Before I move away from the women issue, I wanted to raise the issue of cabinet secretaries and their performances. For example, if I just pick one from the heart, there's so much criticism of Amina Mohammed and how she's running the sports docket because Kenyan sportsmen go abroad, hotels are not paid, I don't know this, whatever. Just as an overview, how are women doing at the helm in terms of being at cabinet secretary? And people like Amina, I look at social media every time people saying, is she not paying attention? And it's not about her. But if you look at generally the positions held, are you happy with that progress?
Yeah, you used Amina Mohammed, yes, and because she's a woman, and it's unfortunate. I wouldn't go by what happens on social media, because a lot of times there you have what you call those, are they soldiers or whatever on social media? They're actually paid. So I'm not saying or suggesting that's what's happened. So I would go by factual news. I don't know the reasons. I have read that, they have arrived at a place and they haven't got their dues, the athletes, yes? But over and above, there's also criticism about male cabinet secretaries,
exactly,
yes? And then there are female cabinet secretaries. I don't want to name any of them so that I'm looking like I'm choosing a favorite. So I think, again, it's not, I think maybe we should ask what's really going on in that ministry.
Yes.
Who do you have cartels in that ministry?
Yes.
Who decides, and how do these people
I'm asking this question really not from any negative sense. There was this feeling that there's going to be lack of empathy, a lack of we need to kind of bring more soul to government. And I
think we do, and I think that there is a disconnect, because remember, the cabinet secretaries, yes, they can be summoned to parliament, but their appointing authority is the President of the Republic of Kenya, and that is who will keep them in check if anything goes wrong. But there is the general sentiment that they are technocrats.
Yes.
And what the PSs used to be, formally, the PSs were the technocrats. And it was important that you had, personally, for my belief, from where I'm coming from, that the CSs be from the legislature, because they're the ultimate representatives.
In the UK, a record number of women are leaving politics. Many of them have even resigned from the cabinet.
Yes.
And the Conservative Party in the UK is having a major problem. As they're saying, the politics is not really something that they're feeling comfortable with. And I remember when Kenyatta and Ruto were naming their cabinet, there was a big issue about how many women would be on the cabinet and how that would change the whole character, simply because of empathy and certain other issues. And I'm just wondering, because I wanted to just move away from the subject and ask you, as we look forward to affirmative action, more MCAs, the executive branch of government be expanded. And of course, at Parliament, you go with the 1/3 and cabinet. Is this really going to change things from a man's world to a place where the society moves again, the issue I said of the moral compass, and being a leader from the outside who now has come in and seen what Beth Mugo and the rest have done? Was there any difference, or does it not make a difference?
There's been a tremendous difference. There's an incremental difference. If it weren't for the fact that you had to have one man, one woman on your nomination list, the possibility is that I wouldn't have been in Parliament. So therein lies the answer to your question.
So did that infusion of lady power, do you think it has affected us positively?
Yes, definitely. It's affected us positively. And then we become the role models for what I like to call the chosen generation, the Joshua generation, the ones who will truly enter Canaan, and we must be the role models.
Today I'm sure on Twitter they're going to say, thank God TG brought a lady, because one of the problems I have on Point Blank is, where are the ladies, and why are you always discussing matters from a male perspective? And is there not a necessary journey to go, even as in media, to kind of hear it from the other side. From the other side. Now, coming to that question, I wanted to say this. In terms of the overall nature of the reforms that the proposals of the BBI are forming, one of the most important role, which I know is being discussed, is this 50-50 question. And it's across the board, that would there, this time round, be more women? And then the people against that always say women are 50+1, more than men, but you are the ones who elect men.
That's true.
So at the local level, at the grassroots level, Kenyans are watching you, millions of girls for whom you are a role model. Is there a need also for them to pull their socks up?
Yeah, I think so.
Kind of
And
make their vote count.
Yes, because the power ultimately lies with them. And the questions need to be asked. And they are those women who have done it, who have ran in single-member constituencies, and they've been the trailblazers before. But is to ask those voters that what is it? And also, I think that we have to have this conversation now on some kind of legislation for campaign spending, because it's really gone overboard now. You know, it's completely gone overboard. And I think in some places it's about who spends the most money. In other places it's not necessarily the case, because I know a few multimillionaires there who have stood up to be president, run as presidential candidates. But they haven't made it. So that's a multifaceted conversation that we...
But coming back to the rural woman watching you now, or the Nairobian woman or girl, what role do women have to do in empowering themselves? And I'm raising this question because I often don't have the privilege of... You've made it, Jennifer. I mean, you went to law school, you came from a political family, you're actually in parliament, you've lived the dream. And my question is, those girls who need to walk your path,
is to break that mindset within the... You see, I had a father who said that a woman can do everything. Now, that patriarchal mindset, and don't get me wrong, I believe, that the father is the head of the house, and so is the mother. And I'm saying, but to only believe that it is only men who can do this for you, and it's not a woman's not capable. Martha Karua went ahead of us. She's a trailblazer, and she did it, She was a member of parliament. She has run as a presidential candidate. And
Charity
NGILU is another person, an incredible person, These women have gone ahead of us. And I think that that's a question that I would want to ask them. How did you do it? How did you break that mindset? What did you do? But one of the things is where you come across as the women were criticized. Embrace Inua were criticized as being women. And I'm surprised, I haven't read, they could have made a statement and countered that criticism. They may have, I've not read it. But in all the girls within my own circle, I teach them that you can be anything and anyone you want to be.
At the Joyce Robertso funeral, there was this demand that she had chosen a man, and in her death, they asked the leadership to make sure in Bomet that they elect a woman deputy. And of course, he elected a man. I mean...
because it's not binding, but it's that sort of thing. I wish she could have honored her and honored her name and her memory, but we still have a long way to go. We still have a long way to go, Tony.
Well,
it's complex. It's a discussion that we can have, for a whole session on. Invite me back for that one. Yes.
Well, you're watching Point Blank here at KTN News. Jennifer Shamala says women are coming up. A long way to go. You're watching KTN News.